The value accessor belongs to the so-called ngControl. ngControl is an abstract class that is being extended by three already familiar directives: ngModel, formControl, and formControlName. Additionally, the ngControl constructor can be used to inject the instances of directives I mentioned above into your components or directives, if it is needed, of course. So later, when I say ngControl, I mean one of those three directives, all right? So, taking into account what I just said, it means that we can find the value accessor property somewhere in the formControlName directive. And indeed, once we expand it, we can find this property, and we also see that its value is the instance of the directive that resides on the same node and has a name default value accessor. If we expand it, you would probably expect to see four methods I mentioned in the previous video, like writeValue, registerOnChange, registerOntouched, and setDisabledState. But no worries. All of them are here, but in the prototype property. Here you can see the writeValue method, and the rest are just inherited from some base class called baseControlValueAccessor, but of course they are available for the default value accessor as well, and they are being called every time the native control and formControl model needs to be synchronized. But let's have a look at how those methods and default value accessor are implemented at all. Here you can see the source code of this accessor. It is a directive that implements the control value accessor interface. This directive knows how to update the view when the formControl model changes, and it knows when to update the formControl model if the changes happened on the view side. For instance, this directive resides on the input element, right? If the value of the formControl model which is associated with this input changes, there will be called method writeValue. And this method contains the logic that updates the view accordingly to changes from the formControl model. In the case of input element, we have to update its value property to the value from the model. It happens inside the helper method called setProperty, which was inherited from a base class. Here you can see is being used a renderer service that is being utilized to modify DOM elements to not do it directly. And this service, as well as the DOM element, they are injected into the constructor via dependency injection. Here you can see the renderer and the element ref, which actually points to the input element or any other element where this directive resides. Something similar happens in other accessors methods like setDisabledState, which just updates the input property called disabled, and in such a way we disable or enable the control. Here above you can see the rest of two methods required by the control value accessor interface. Those are registerOnTouch and registerOnChange. They both work pretty similarly. Both get some magic functions as an argument and store them in the directive's properties respectively. These functions know how to update the corresponding formControl model, and they need to be called when this update has to be performed. For instance, when the formControl model needs to be updated. Right, when the user enters a new value to the input. Alright, when a user enters anything into the input JavaScript event has been fired. So we have to add a listener for this event and call the onChange function with a new value there in order to update the formControl model. Same with the touched state synchronization. When the user moves the focus from the input, this input is considered to be touched. So moving the focus away from the input fires the blur event. So we have to listen for this event and call the onTouched callback, which is basically the function provided right here, right? So in such a way, the touched state will be synchronized with the form control model as well. So as simple as that, and I hope you've got now a better understanding of what exactly all those methods are doing and how they could be implemented, because remember, it is just one of the possible implementations, and we can and we will do our custom value accessors. But now let's move forward and check how they are being actually involved.